What's up, guys? This is Pinky here, and today I'm going to be going over the Frost Mage guide for 7.15. Again, this is for Frost Mage, so if you're looking for Fire or Arcane, you are in the wrong spot. I'm only going to be going over Frost Mage. And this is what a lot of Frost Mages call the Ice Lance spec, and it is very useful in raids. It's for single target all the way up through, multi-target, mythic pluses, things like that. So right now I'm going to show you the talents that you're going to need for this, and in other videos I'll be releasing different specs for Frost, different talent rotations, things like that, but for this one it's just for the Ice Lance spec. So you're going to want to start out in your first tier. You're going to want Bone Chilling, and for as long as you stay active in the fight with your cast, you're going to be increasing all your Frost damage by up to 6%. Ice Flows and Shimmers in the next tier you guys kind of interchange, but I use Ice Flows. It's easier to cast on the move instead of getting an extra blink. Okay, for the next tier, Enchanter's Flow, it's like a random roll where it starts all the way from 5%, goes up to 20% increased damage, and it just keeps rolling for every time you cast something. So that's one of your go-tos. Okay, the next one's a big one. It's Frozen Touch, and they redesigned this where you no longer generate 2 Fingers of Frost every time you activate it. Instead, it's a passive, and you gain 40% increased chance of getting a Fingers of Frost proc, which, in my opinion, I think I've been getting a lot more within that 40-second duration that it used to be. So I think this change actually helped Frost Mages a lot this patch. So it is very useful, and it is the go-to spec. Ice Nova is more of a PvP, and Splitting Ice is more for mythic pluses or like multi-target fights where you're not using this Ice Lance spec. The next tier, the next tier is mainly PvP talent, so I'm not really going to spend a whole lot of time go over them. I just choose Frigid Winds. For the level 90, I use Unstable Magic. It's just, I am kind of lazy, and when I do my rotations, it's too hard to manage Frost Bomb on the target and get the full 10-second duration, so Unstable Magic is my go-to. And then Thermal Void. Thermal Void is a big one. It increases your timer on your Icy Veins based on if you have it unlocked on your artifact weapon, but by doing this Ice Lance spec, I'm able to keep my Thermal Void up from, the base is around 20 seconds. I can keep it up as long as a minute, and it has a 3-minute cooldown. So like the whole point of this spec is you want to try to keep your Icy Veins active as long as possible. And to kind of see where I'm at with that, instead of looking up at the top right of my corner, I have a weak aura that pretty much paints it right in front of my face, so I can see the timer and the remaining cooldown, things like that. So now I'm going to get into the actual rotation. Okay guys, going over the actual rotation for Frost, it's very simple. It takes a little bit to get used to. It's a lot similar to the 7-1 rotation. Okay, what you're going to do is you're going to start out, you're going to be using your Deadly Grace potions. Okay, so at 3 seconds on the DBM timer, you're going to pop your Deadly Grace and cast your Ebon Bolt. Okay, once it casts, you're going to start your Frostbolt spamming. So you're going to spam your first Frostbolt, and when it's about halfway done casting, you're going to want to pop your pet's Water Jet. Okay, what the Water Jet does is it generates a Fingers of Frost proc for every Frostbolt that you cast off on it. So you can get anywhere between 2 and 3 depending on how you time it out. So when you end up doing that, you're going to want to cast the 2 or 3 Frostbolts to get those procs, and then you're going to want to cast Icy Veins. Okay, this will start the cooldown, give you a little bit more time, and by casting Icy Veins after you already have your procs, you could start dumping them and start the increase that you get from your artifact weapon, which increases the timer on it by 2 seconds for every Ice Lance. Okay, after you cast the first set of Ice Lances, what you're going to want to do now is you're going to want to shoot your Frozen Orb at the target, and this will generate more Fingers of Frost for you. So as you dump it, keep spamming your Frost Bolts, and then when you have between 2 to 3, then you're going to want to keep dumping all your Ice Lances. Okay, you should be keeping your Icy Veins up for anywhere between like 40 seconds to a minute, depending on how much RNG you get, how well you time and proc it out. Okay, now when that initial rotation is done, you're just going to want to be spamming Frostbolt, and periodically you're going to be getting some of your moves off cooldown. But spam the Frostbolt for every Ice Lance you get up. You want to blow it. You want to cast Ebon Bolt every time it's off cooldown, but you only want to cast Ebon Bolt when you do not already have a Flurry proc. Okay, so when you go to cast your Ebon Bolt, it generates a Flurry proc. What I do is when I have my Flurry, I shoot a Frostbolt at the target, blow my Flurry proc, and then it leaves like a 2-second debuff on the target that any Ice Lance that you shoot at it counts as a crit, and it also extends the timer on your Icy Veins. So you want to make sure for every Flurry proc you follow it with a Ice Lance. Okay, as you guys are going through the rotation, you guys are going to notice that your cooldowns are going to start coming off. The first one being your pet's water jet. So what you're going to want to do is recognize that it comes off. You want to blow it, and then you restart the rotation, because by the time you're done with your pet's water jet, your frozen orb should be off cooldown. After your frozen orb is off cooldown, your Ebon Bolt will be off cooldown, and then you could just continue the rotation over and over. Now, one thing you want to look out for is there's going to be like a 30-second window when you're going to notice that your Icy Veins only has so much time before it ticks off. Now, what I do is when Icy Veins only has about 30 seconds left, I don't blow my water jet. I don't blow any more frozen orbs. I still continue to cast the Ebon Bolt though. And by doing this, I'm saving up all my cooldowns and all my procs so that once the Icy Veins is done, I could pop that and then restart from the very beginning my entire rotation, and you will see a significant increase into your DPS. If you guys have any questions on the actual rotation itself, stats, what gems you should be using, enchants, things like that, feel free to hit me up on btag. I'll have a link at the bottom. Just add me. It's always good to get some feedback, also to talk amongst other frost mages. Maybe there's something in this guide I'm not doing correctly, or something other people aren't doing, or just might be missing. So it's always good to talk and communicate. So with that being said, again, this is Pinky. If you guys have any questions, hit me up.